With the new Nether update, everybody has been talking only about the Nether. How do you explore the Nether? What now lives in the Nether? What should I get the Nether for a birthday gift? Well, because building is such an important part of Minecraft, we are doing a tutorial on how to build in the Nether. I mean, you guys know how to build in the Nether. You just click blocks onto the blocks and then more blocks. So that's basic, but anyway, these are some tips and tricks to make sure that your Nether building experience doesn't go up in flames. So here we are inside of Minecraft, and don't you like this? I spent some time building it. It has like a little representation of every single biome. It's so adorable. But before we head into the Nether through this amazing Nether portal that I made, we are going to need to get ready first. You can't just take a test without studying. You got to prepare. So how do you prepare? Well, in this very long building that I have set up, this is all of your preparation items. So starting off, you do need to make sure that you have some type of armor. This does not need to be crazy diamond, the best armor you've ever seen. You can get by with just straight old iron armor. This is iron armor that has been enchanted with just some basic enchantments like protection. Whoa, I'm in creative. Let's grab each one of these. One of these pieces is not like the others. As you can see, this is some gold pants. I would suggest one piece of your armor be gold. Doesn't really matter which piece. I chose the pants because I know the iron chest plate has a little bit more armor protection, and I don't know, I just felt like pants, golden pants. Nothing could go wrong with golden pants. Of course, the reason to keep one of these things gold is because piglins will not attack you if you are wearing a golden piece of armor. So in general, even if your armor is unenchanted, any type of iron armor is probably going to be fine. The mobs that you're really going to be fighting in the Nether include skeletons, wither skeletons, ghasts, magma cubes, hoglins. Those guys can be kind of annoying, and blazes. Most of those are pretty rare. You're not going to run into them too often, and they're not very overpowered, so you really don't need a ton of crazy armor. Moving on. Next, these are just your basic things that you're also going to want to make sure to bring. Some type of pickaxe. Doesn't have to be diamond, but if it is iron, you're going to want to bring extra iron and sticks because you're going to run out. Netherrack is mined pretty quickly, and if you're going to be mining a lot of netherrack, then you're going to run through your durability on your pick. All your normal items, even a shield, some food, and then the big powerful one. This one is important. A bow with a whole bunch of arrows. Most likely the gas is going to be your most that was nuisance. Somehow I made nuisance. But anyway, it's going to be your biggest nuisance is the ghast. And obviously you're going to want to either an infinity bow or a whole bunch of arrows when you go and fight those ghasts. Next, you're going to want to make sure that you minimize the amount of times that you're going to go through your Nether portal. It takes a long time. Going back and forth from two different bases is kind of annoying. So make sure that you plan ahead. You kind of have your build in your mind, and also utilize shulker boxes if you have them, or if you don't have shulker boxes, utilize an ender chest. And I know that that's a hard thing to get, especially if you're playing early game, because you need the obsidian, so you need at least a diamond pick, and you need the eye of ender. Also, make sure that your pick has silk touch on it before you pick up your ender chest, otherwise it'll break into a whole bunch of pieces.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Inside of these shulker boxes that I have here are a few other items that you may want to make sure to bring. Some extra material in order to make more tools, maybe some better materials to make better tools. Obviously, elytra if you have it, and the elytra also needs the firework rockets to fly with. A boat is nice from getting from high up places to lower down places. If you jump in a boat, you won't take fall damage. Bamboo and string is really just to make scaffolding, which can be very useful when you're building. Torches to light up the place, make it look nice. Arrows, we already covered this. Food is obvious. Wood is to make a whole bunch of these other things like torches and arrows and crafting tables and chests, all that stuff that you just need. Obsidian to make a portal out if you, for some reason, lose your other portal. Buckets for lava, ender pearls for moving around fast, and flint and steel in case your portal goes out. Also, whatever type of variety of building material you want. So make sure that if you're building something out of stone, you also have some andesite and maybe some mossy cobblestone or something like that. Make sure that you're bringing all of the different types of things that you want to build into the nether with you so that you don't have to make trips back and forth. Also, here's some other blocks that you may want. Some extra obsidians, bookshelves, some decoration blocks. All these blocks that can't really be obtained in the nether itself. Obviously, you're going to have an unlimited supply of netherrack and the brick things that are in the fortress and glowstone, but a few items which can only be achieved in the overworld can only be brought with you from the overworld over to the nether. Sand, glass, that sort of stuff. So make sure that you have these blocks as well as you head in. And if you are going the ender chest route, always make sure that you have some flint and steel inside of your ender chest. Okay, one more thing before we finally jump through that big swirling portal and head into the nether, and that is you should probably think about getting some type of potion. Potion that I'm talking about here is really just fire resistance, because fire resistance, if you fall into lava, will completely negate any type of damage that you get from fire. This fire resistance potion has 8-minute duration on it, and the way you make that is by putting a water bottle inside of a brewing stand with the correct amount of blaze powder, putting nether wart in that, putting a magma cream in that, putting redstone dust in that, and then finally you are given the fire resistance potion with 8 minutes of fire resistance. Now, I understand if the brewing stand, see what I did there, is outside of your grasp, because obviously we're jumping into the nether right now. We're building in the nether. Maybe you haven't had a chance to go and get the blaze rods, get the blaze powder, get the nether wart, all the stuff that's already in the nether to start your brewing. If that's the case, there is another alternative, and that is a suspicious stew. If you use the allium flour, this purple flour right here, inside of a suspicious stew, it obviously won't tell you this, but the output of that suspicious stew will give you fire resistance. So if I eat this, there you go, fire resistance. You have it for only 4 seconds, so it's not a lot of time. It's kind of a crummy backup, but if you're in a life or death situation and you happen to have made one of those, it'll give you at least 4 seconds of swimming. Maybe you can eat another one and eat a whole bunch of them, although they do not stack, which kind of stinks. So you're gonna have a ton of suspicious stew in your inventory as a backup plan, most likely. So brewing is a lot better, but if you are terrified of falling into lava, a suspicious stew is a cheap way to get the same effect for a very short duration. Okay, so now that you've done all of that and taken all of my tips to heart outside in the overworld, now it is time to jump through the portal and go to the nether. So obviously I have been building a little bit inside of here, so your nether experience won't look the same. But the first thing you got to do right as you go through this portal is either link this portal up with your portal in the overworld using your coordinates, and I made a sweet video about how to link portals together, or make sure that you take a screenshot of your coordinates or write them down if you're in Bedrock to make sure that you can find this portal again, or that this portal or whatever portal you come out of is the portal that you are going to leave by. Now, before we get building, you do need to make some decisions. And the biggest decision is, what biome are you going to make your build in? What area are you going to start making your creation? And currently in the current development builds of Minecraft, there are 4 biomes to choose from. I'm gonna go through some pluses and minuses of each one. First is the Crimson Forest. This is a little slice of what a crimson forest biome looks like. It has the red trees with the red trunks and the red ground. Very red, and every once in a while you'll get a warped fungi in there as well. Some mobs that spawn are the piglin, the hoglin, and the zombified pigmen. So keep in mind, piglin need to have the gold armor on, otherwise they will attack you. Hoglins are always hostile, and zombified pigmen may attack you if you attack them, and they will attack in groups, which is really, really bad. But it's a biome that looks really, really good, so you should keep that one in mind. Moving on to the Soul Sand Valley. Inside of the Soul Sand Valley, world generation creates a lot of soul sand, which is a little bit difficult to walk on, but it does have these cool bone blocks and some basalt as well. Inside of the Soul Sand Valley, what spawns? skeletons, ghasts, and endermen. And of course, if you happen to find an area of the Soul Sand Valley that just has soul soil, then it is like walking on normal blocks, so you don't have to worry about it too much. So keep that one in mind if you want to build there. Next is the Nether Wastes, and this looks very similar to what the Nether used to look like before we got a big Nether update. And as of recording this episode, we don't even have the Nether update yet, but as we're going to get a Nether update, and all of the mobs, basically all of the mobs spawn here because you got ghasts, zombie pigmen, magma cubes, which aren't in any of the others, endermen, piglins, and of course everything that also spawns in a fortress, because fortresses will also spawn in the Nether Wastes, which means that you could have a chance to be next to a fortress that would spawn extra wither skeletons and blazes. And I mean, let's be honest, if you're gonna make a big build in the Nether, you're probably not gonna choose the Nether Wastes because this is old news. Who wants to live in this biome? Nobody. Let's move on. Next and lastly, we have the Warped Forest. In the Warped Forest, you have this crazy green looking grassy stuff. You got the green looking trees, very similar to the Crimson Forest, except it has a completely different color palette. There's a big difference in what spawns in this forest though, because it's only endermen. That means that this is a very, very passive and peaceful area to build in, although it may not be to your taste in terms of the color palette. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys on what type of biome that you want to build in. Hello, little ghast. Go away. I hate you. But those are the pros and cons of these 4 biomes. Now I will show you a few builds in a few of these biomes and give you an idea of what you could make. Let's start off in the Crimson Forest. So this build here is actually a basic copy of Raziel's simple build. So this is just a home, but I have completely rechosen the new palette, which is obviously all of these reddish blocks. With this build, I wanted to build a normal looking home using the palette of the biome that we are in. So because we are in a Crimson Forest biome, I am using only things that are crimson and then maybe a few things that are really, really close to crimson, like some red glass or these nether brick stairs and nether brick right here. So you'll notice from almost far away, this build sort of almost blends in. I mean, it doesn't really blend, it kind of sticks out because of the torches. You can see that it's all kind of one color. It almost seems monochrome in essence because it's all this just one shade of color in different tones. I've added a little bit of a farm sort of situation down here, along with some nether wart blocks, which was kind of supposed to resemble some bushes, but they didn't really end up doing that. And then a build up here that has a lot of depth, and I actually really like this build. Obviously, I didn't do it myself. I've just kind of reused this build and stuck the palette of this build on it. And you have, you know, your normal doors. You have sort of everything in here that I'll be honest, I'm not really a big fan of the single color palette. You have a nice little window up there that's kind of fake. So this is my first build, and it kind of gives you some inspiration of what to do with a color palette inside of a biome. That is also something that I want to take a look at in the next build. I love how the piglins will open and close doors, by the way. You got to keep that in mind. Keeping this color palette in mind, we're going to head to another build. This one is in the Warped Forest, and this actually uses Waddles. This is Waddles for inspiration. Waddles did a video where he created basically a tree house inside of this huge warped fungi trees, and I really like that. But one of the things that I noticed in that build was that he used a lot of the opposite biomes blocks inside of it. So you can see that these is the same crimson that we were seeing in the previous build, but now inside of a warped forest, it really pops. It really adds a nice amount of contrast to the build to have the other biome inside of it. It's not all a monochrome build, and I've even incorporated some things from the other biomes as well, with like these weeping vines right here, so that you really get a sense that this is something in addition to the biome. So I would say it is an improvement to sort of play off of the colors in the various biomes. If you have something that matches too much, then it kind of becomes bland, unfortunately. So if you have something that is a little bit contrasty, then that can add an awful lot to your build. So far, we've seen 2 builds that really use a lot of the blocks that are from the Nether itself. In fact, both of these really use crimson a lot. The crimson planks and stairs and fences, both builds use that a lot. So let's take a look at a build that does not use blocks from the Nether, but actually uses a lot of blocks from the overworld. So in this build, we have built in a soul sand valley. So a new type of, we're right next to this crimson forest area, but a new type of biome. And I've created what I want to be sort of like a witch hut situation. So we have the soul fire. We have a lot of soul fire accents. So we got some of the lanterns all around, and then also the torches all around. We also have a little bit of this blue because it kind of matches the soul fire. So we have some of the warped fungus and the warped roots that are sort of around as if the person living here was cultivating a few of them. And I'm also incorporating some of the smoke from the campfires. So this soul fire right here doesn't actually produce a ton of smoke, but I have hidden a few campfires back behind, so it gives the impression that a bunch of smoke is coming from the soul fire. And I've also added some smoke coming out of the house itself to give the impression of a chimney. Now, as you can see, the build is mostly stone, and I'm using a little bit of basalt here for some accent to sort of tie it into the biome. But you can see lots of different types of stone, andesite, some stone brick, especially for the roof, and we have black glass as the type of glass that we're using for this build. So this is using a block that is outside of the Nether, something that we have brought into the Nether, and I even have like a gravel pathway here, and I really like how the bone blocks sort of in the back add like this weird structure back there. But mostly the name of the game with this build is that you can incorporate previous blocks outside of the Nether into your build, and it still looks like it fits. It still looks like it belongs inside of this biome. So there you go. I hope you found some inspiration from these builds. I didn't go into a full detailed step-by-step analysis, but I'm hoping that you'll pause the video whenever you see something that you like, and you can just use my video as inspiration. Speaking of inspiration, you guys inspire me. You're amazing. Thanks so much for watching this episode of OMG Craft. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a big old thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe for future videos, tips, tricks, tutorials, and spotlights here on OMG Craft. See you in the next one. Bye!